Okay, so yesterday we did say we would make a video about this topic, and here it is. We discussed the Besser rejected Antoine Roussel, Louis Eriksson thing yesterday morning, but today we're going over to the other aspect that Dolly, went out there and highlighted on the Sekeres and Price show. We're going back over onto Buck Foston's Twitter account because what they did was they summarized pretty much what it was that Dhaliwal had to say. According to Rick Dhaliwal, Montreal is interested in Besser again. Rick speculates a Sean Monahan in return, which makes it easier to trade Horvat. Now, we could straight up make this video a Sean Monahan for Brock Besser trade video-ish kind of thing, and we could probably get away with that, but it's been like 3 days worth of making Brock Besser trade-related videos, so why not just give the guy a break for now, move the focus on the Bo, and talk about this Monahan-Horvat thing in some sort of a productive way. So, I feel like a lot of Canucks fans, upon seeing this tweet in particular, kind of freaked out a little bit. Because just right away, scrolling down and looking at some of the responses over here, everybody's kind of saying, wait a minute, no, are you kidding me? Why? Not Sean Monahan. Why would the Canucks get Sean Monahan? That guy's a bum, that guy's wasted, that guy's not good anymore. And I feel like there's some sort of an unfair rep that's being given out over here. Sure, Sean Monahan is not Bo Horvat. I feel like there was somewhat of a comparison to be making about these two players sometime back in the day. I mean, they were both top picks in the 2013 draft. But Sean Monahan certainly had his heyday back as a member of the Calgary Flames. Might I remind you, it was only 3 seasons ago, or not 3 seasons ago, but 3 years ago, where he had 82 points in 78 games played. Of course, there's the entire story about how injuries derailed his career. We've talked about that at length several times. But after Monahan got sent over to the Montreal Canadiens with a first-round pick, it's been kind of nuts how he's been able to revive his career in a way. We know that the Calgary Flames did not use Monahan in their lineup when they went to the second round. Monahan was just kind of hanging around there, and he was a healthy scratch. He was just kind of in the background there, and his $6 million AAV cap hit was not making things any better. And so after getting sent over to Montreal with that first, you sort of had yourselves a new hunger, a desire for Monahan to put himself back in a valuable light in the National Hockey League. And so far, that's exactly what he's done. In 25 games played, the now healthy Monahan has put up 17 points, 6 goals, 11 assists. He's on pace for 54 points on the year, which would be his most productive season since that 82-point campaign 3 years ago. He is, for all intents and purposes, kind of back. And you could see on the power play, you could see in regular 5v5 play that Monahan is just kind of here to stay, and he's a really talented player. Now, going long term, it's very easy to see why a team like Montreal is most likely going to go out there and try to shop Monahan because, I mean, look, they're a rebuilding team, they're kind of on the up and up, this is their retool on the fly. Monahan is not going to be making 6.3 AAV next season because he doesn't have a contract for next season. Somebody's going to have to re-sign him, and I doubt he goes for a rate that is in that $6 million AAV territory. You're probably going to be able to re-sign this guy for something in the 5, maybe 5.5 AAV range, and if you assume that he goes out there and starts producing at a steady rate of 50-ish points a season again, you could very well debate that's pretty fair. Now, this is where the Vancouver Canucks thing comes into play, because what Dhaliwal proposed is that if the Canucks acquire a guy like Monahan, it's easier to trade a guy like Bo. Bo is the same age as Monahan, as we had said, they were both drafted in the same year, but Bo Horvat has priced himself out of Vancouver so much with his recent play that it's going to be kind of interesting seeing where things go from here. Bo has 29 points in 28 games played, 20 goals on the season too. He's on pace for 59 total on the season. This rate was actually a lot better earlier in the year before Bo stopped scoring in the most recent few games that he has had. But at the end of the day, Bo Horvat is going to get a lot of money. And now when you talk about comparisons, I mean, if Bo is going to be making $8.5, $9 million, we had some teams out there apparently willing to give him that amount of money. Vancouver doesn't really have a horse in this race if you talk about them being able to re-sign Horvat. At least at the moment, they need to trade away some guys. They need to buy somebody out. They need to do moves in order to be able to re-sign Bo. And unfortunately, you can't buy out somebody until the June period-ish of the NHL begins. And that's sort of the same territory when Bo Horvat will have the opportunity to sign with some other team if you let him go to free agency. So you'd be cutting things tight if you're Jim Rutherford and the Vancouver Canucks trying to re-sign Bo through the means of opened up money with a buyout. That's probably not in the cards here unless you make some significant commitments to Bo beforehand. However, if you decide to trade away Bo, you make another trade to acquire a guy like Sean Monahan, and you go into this offseason with the idea in mind that Monahan will be your Bo replacement. Sure, the team gets kind of worse. I mean, right now, it would be fair to say that Monahan is an inferior player to Bo Horvat, but it's not by much. Okay, maybe it's by quite a lot, but maybe not as much as Canucks fans appear to believe, because I'd been seeing so many people on social media saying that Monahan is just an absolute bum. But believe me, guys, he's better this year. He is not that bad anymore. Of course, it's one season's worth of play, combating what was a long stretch of injuries and inconsistency, so I could understand if you have the doubts. But so far, I mean, Monahan, if you wanted to go out there and say that the Vancouver Canucks need somewhat of a middle-tier, middle-aged-ish center to come over and just stabilize their forward core while they go through this retool of their own, Monahan is not the worst option out there. But of course, trading away Brock Boeser for Sean Monahan, actually, you know what? I was going to say that that's not really an ideal move. I take that back. I feel like Brock Boeser and his contract is so bad right now. I mean, the combination of what Boeser is as a player plus the money makes for a very, very strangely valued asset. But I feel like for Monahan, because he has a contract extension process for next season, Emily Castonguay could go out there and do her work. I mean, she could probably go out there and sign this guy to a contract that's not that expensive, especially considering his injury history. And I feel like this could be a subliminal way to work out of the Vancouver Canucks cap problems while also getting worse in the process. And the getting worse part helps them out in the draft lottery. It helps them out for the draft lottery next year. Aaron Kiviharju is the guy that's supposed to go first overall in 2024. And yeah, I know, we're talking about 2024 guys now. But it's a big 3D chess kind of game when you think about things like this. So, talk to the console your thoughts about the idea of Sean Monahan getting traded over to the Vancouver Canucks for Brock Boeser, firstly, and how, whether or not that's a trade that allows Bo Horvat to get moved out easier too. That's the second part. I feel like Bo is such a better player than Monahan is right now that you could probably get a lot of assets for this guy. There's no question about that. It's just whether or not you would value the assets over trying to keep Bo long-term, or, worst case scenario, not doing anything with Bo at all and having him go to free agency, walking and leaving the Vancouver Canucks Johnny Gaudreau style. Do you like Sean Monahan as a potential, let's say, middle-tier center for Vancouver? If you get a guy like Monahan, that makes the roles of the rest of the centers a lot more easily definable. You have Petey, you have Miller, and then you have Monahan. There's no debate about that. There's no, oh, Bo Horvat's a third-line center on this team. Wow, he's got so many goals. You can't be playing this guy third-line center minutes. Oh, JT's on the third line now? That guy had 99 points last year. Oh, Pettersson's a third-line guy now? Okay, that's probably not going to happen. He's been very, very good. But there's no more ambiguity there if you have a guy like Monahan instead for Horvat. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Either way, all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.